93, 93, 93. This is the one Asherenew from Asherenew.com. Today's video is titled, If You Are Chosen, You Have to Supersede, Outdo, Outwork, whatever term or title you want to use, everyone around you. See, when it comes to be chosen, that means you have access to energy that other people simply don't have access to. That's what it comes down to. It comes down to access to energy. Meaning those who are successful, they know how it is to go sleepless nights because they have a higher level of energy. So if they have to stay up for 3 days, for example, when we're used to sleeping every day for 8 hours. So in 3 days, that's basically 24 hours of sleep if you sleep for 8 hours. So in 3 days, that's a whole day of sleep. However, when you are chosen, let's just say you have to sacrifice those 24 hours of sleep. You have to go against the mainstream. You have to do something essentially radical. Because doing something radical taps you into an energy source that other people don't have access to. So that's how you can outwork or outperform. Because you're accessing energies. Because you feel within your own heart, within your consciousness, that you can perform on divine levels. That's essentially what it comes down to. You feel you can perform on divine levels. So all you're doing is going about proving that. And that's essentially what brings a person success. It's not because you had everything that you needed, because you had the perfect team, because you had the perfect this or perfect that. You may not have any of those things. You may be in the furthest position away from having a perfect environment. Your environment may be the furthest from heaven. You may full blown be in hell. So what I'm saying is, you could say even people in hell still sleep 8 hours. Even 4 hours. So that means every 3 days, that's still 24 hours of sleep, or half a day, 12 hours of sleep if you're sleeping for 4 hours, 4, 8, 12. So you're either sleeping a whole day after 3 days or half a day after 3 days. So if you are able to utilize that same energy that people are utilizing for sleep, and you are able to keep yourself awake, essentially have a sleep fast. You know, we talk about water fast, but this is more of a sleep fast. If you're able to sacrifice your rest, your stillness, and you continue to perform on an energetic level, eventually this will lead to you being successful at what you're doing, because you're going to continue to get better and you're going to continue to overcome any adversity because they can't outwork you. Excuse me. So what I'm saying is, as we know, we all have adverse forces or energies that try to stop us from doing things that we feel we should be doing. But these things don't have unlimited energy. These things must sleep too. They must rest too. They must take a break as well. So when you continue to work, when they're on break, eventually, as you see, after 3 days, you didn't gain a whole extra day or half of a day, because you are not doing the same thing that they do. So essentially, if you feel that you have haters or people that don't want to see you come up or be successful, those people have to sleep. Those people have to rest. Those people are not zombies and they're just up 24/7. They're not. They are not participating in a sleep fast. Just like they're probably not participating in a water fast or a food fast. They're essentially the last thing they want to do is put themselves in an adverse situation. Even if they want to see you in an adverse situation, they're not going to put themselves in an adverse situation. But when you put yourself in an adverse situation, meaning you're just going to outperform, you can say, okay, well, even haters have to sleep 8 hours. So if you decide I'm not going to sleep, imagine the type of work they have to do to keep up with you. And as you see, after 3 days, you done did a whole extra day of work. So imagine how hard it's going to be to keep up with you. Imagine how hard it becomes. Now, again, that's just after 3 days. After 6 days, it's 2 days. After 9 days, it's 3 days. So imagine trying to keep up with you when every 3 days you got a whole nother day of work that they haven't even caught up to yet. They're still trying to catch up to what you were doing when they were sleeping. So if this becomes a continuous thing, they're going to eventually lose. They're not going to be able to keep up with the pace. They're not going to be able to keep up with your efforts because it's just simply too much to keep up with. You're moving too quickly. Your Kundalini has risen and it's moving too fast for them to keep up with. So that's essentially my perspective as to how to overcome any situation, any adversity. You have to outwork it. You have to out earn it. And it all starts with energy. You have to tap into the part of yourself that allows you to outwork, that allows you to do or perform miracles. You can say it's a miracle if you're able to stay up for 3 days. But imagine the type of work you have to put in to do so. Because as you see, like if you're just in your room chilling, you may just nod off. If you're already in your bed chilling, you may just nod off. So this requires you, you can say, to be on your feet. You got to move around a lot more. You got to keep yourself a lot more active. Now, all of a sudden, now you done found the time to work out. You done found the time to visit places that you didn't have the time to visit before. You basically have to fill up all of this extra time that you have with other activities that everybody else doesn't seem to have the time for. This is how it works. So while everybody else, again, is not finding time for the exercise to be healthy, to stay in shape, to keep their memory and their mental facilities on point, because you're staying up. Now you have all the time to do the things that they are not able to do, because again, they have to do everything within these 16 hours. Because again, they're not trying to give up that 8 hours of sleep, so they're trying to get everything fulfilled in 16 hours. So if you give yourself a full 24 hours to fulfill all of your obligations and more, and to supersede the obligations and to do immensely more, it's not just a little more, immensely more. Are you outworking those who don't want to see you win, but you're also becoming more healthy. You're becoming more conscious. You're becoming more spiritual because now all that time is being dedicated for self-improvement, to the point where you're able to improve yourself to now you don't even have to deal with these people. Because you simply elevated yourself. You literally levitated yourself out of that situation, out of that environment, or out of whatever you may be dealing with. Because you chose to do what they were not going to do. See, in other words, they rely on your energy being drained. This is why they call people energy vampires. They give you negative energy because the goal would be to drain your energy so that it drains your star power. So of course people want to hate. because that throws you off your pivot. Now you're beefing with people. Now you're saying things you shouldn't be saying. Now you're doing everything that what you should be doing. Now you're going out of your way to prove who you are and what you're willing to do. This is why we see all this all over the internet. And you see all that time could be invested differently. But we only engage because we feel we have to. We don't want people talking ill on our name or making up lies and rumors about us. So we address certain things. However, when it comes to being able to outdo them, they can't keep up with you if you make that sacrifice that they're unwilling to make. Meaning they're not about to sacrifice their sleep trying to keep up with you because they appreciate their sleep. They honor their sleep. And if they don't get their sleep, their whole day is going to be fucked up. So they're not going to sacrifice their sleep. But when you're willing to sacrifice your sleep and your day can still go pretty swell, even without the sleep, by the time they wake up, they got a lot of catching up to do, but while they're trying to catch up to what you already did, now you're doing more things, new things, better things. So essentially, they can no longer even keep up with you. Because when they wake up, they're trying to catch up to what you did when they were asleep. And then you're still moving forward because you're still awake. So who can really keep up with that pace? It's not too many people that can keep up with that pace. And again, I'm just speaking about being up for 3 days. Then if you want to sleep for 8 hours after being up for 3 days, that's fine. But then you be up for another 3 days. So even that particular schedule, or just taking naps, 20-minute naps every 4 hours. So essentially you only sleep for a total of 2 hours instead of 4. You only sleep for 2 because you only take 20-minute naps. 6 20-minute naps or 4 30-minute naps. 4 30-minute naps or 6 20-minute naps for a total of 2 hours per day. If you need sleep, even on that schedule, people are not going to be able to keep up with you. You will be able to outwork, you're able to do more, and you're just able to stay supreme. And this is the goal. This is what it means to be successful. I mean, you can work irregardless of what's going on around you, amongst you, within you. You're still able to produce. So we train ourselves because, again, like what we're dealing with now does not match what we will have to deal with when we're dealing with more powerful people. I mean, it's different when essentially you are being hated on by people that can't really do too much. It's another thing when you're dealing with people that can actually slow your progression down. So you must train yourself for more adverse, you could say, I don't want to call it more adverse, but more powerful enemies. So the enemies we have now, again, they may just not like you for whatever reason. But that doesn't mean they have the power to stop you or to slow you down. But you may encounter people that actually has the power to try to stop you or to try to slow you down. And even when you are in those situations, you being able to outwork somebody, that's just gonna always show. It's gonna always show, meaning if you are an artist and you put out a project every month, after 12 months, you got 12 projects. You got people that it takes them years to put out that same amount of projects. Like you can put out 12 projects in a year. You know how long it may take a person 3 years to put out 12 projects. So you see something you did in 1 year, it may take somebody else multiple years. And the only difference between you and that other person is you were just willing to sacrifice sleep. Now, all the time that they were sleeping, you're up and you're producing and you're making things happen. Who's going to be able to keep up with that? Who's going to deny that? Right? It ain't that you necessarily are better than the next person. You just have more energy than the next person, and it all comes down to energy. It all comes down to kundalini. So your kundalini is more powerful, and that's what leads you to success because you're like, yo, it starts off small, but then it goes into the world stage. Because once you enter into the world stage and you realize, like, yeah, it's a couple people that sacrifice sleep, but you are amongst the chosen. You're one of the people that are willing to make extreme sacrifices that other people are just not willing to endure. And when you become one of those people, because you put in the necessary work to become one of these people, then there is no denying that. The work shows forth. Again, that's why so many people love Tupac or Machiavelli. It wasn't that he was the best lyricist. It wasn't that he was the best at putting his words together. It was just that he outworked everybody. That's why even after he left the planet, music was still coming out 10 years after he's gone. That means he had hundreds of tracks in the vault. He was just simply outworking everybody. There was nobody working harder than Tupac at the time. Probably the only person that comes close to that is like a Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne's probably one of the only few artists that has more songs than Tupac. And Tupac again has been gone for quite some time. There's still people that don't even have as many tracks as he has, and they've been here longer. So that's really what it comes down to. Work ethic. Again, even if we use Lil Wayne, he was dropping mixtape after mixtape after mixtape after mix. He wasn't just dropping albums. His mixtape game was crazy. And again, it's not that these people are necessarily just the best lyricists, but you can't deny the effort. You can't deny the project. Like them, this person put out 12 projects and this person only put out one. Who do you think is going to be the superior artist? And even the person that put out one project, even if it's better than your projects, people are still going to be looking at you because of your work ethic. See, that's essentially the factor that I'm getting to here. The factor is the work ethic. It's not even about the results. It's not even about you you're just better than everyone else. You may not be better than everyone else. But if you can outwork everybody else, eventually you will be better than everybody else. That's the point I'm making. Because you're just working more. So you're doing more, so you're able to correct your mistakes a lot quicker than somebody else who's just doing something once a month that you're doing every day. So if they do something once every 30 days and you're doing it every day, after a year, just imagine how better you will be versus how better they're going to be. Because if they're doing something once a month, that means they only did it 12 times a year. So they had 12 opportunities versus you. If you did it every day, that's 365 times you did it versus somebody else's 12. So those 12 that somebody else did, they may be better, but you had 365 attempts. So actually, one of those attempts may actually be better than what they did. And they may be a superior artist or better than you. But since you did it 365 times instead of 12 times, you actually may outdo them because you did it a lot more times. So essentially what takes them, not necessarily what takes them, but basically what I'm saying is by the time they get into, let me just do the calculations here, hold on. I'll just do the calculations right here. So basically how long would it take them to, if they're only doing it once a month, once every 30 days, or 12 times a year, how many years would it take to get to 365? So 365 divided by 12 is 30 fucking years. God damn. So hopefully that math makes sense to you. It would take them 30 years to do what you did in 1 year. So just put that into perspective. What would take one person 30 years, you can do in 1 year. So imagine how better you will be after that 1 year versus another person's 30 years. So even if they are better than you, not for long, not for long, because you're just simply working too hard for them to be better than you for long. So they may come through the door better than you, but they're not going to leave better than you because you've just been working more. Sorry about that. Right? So this is the point I'm making. If you work harder than everyone else, even if they are better than you, you're able to get to it a lot quicker than they are. And if you are able to get to it a lot quicker, it's going to take you less time to get to where they're trying to get to. So by the time they get to where they're trying to get to, you're already long gone because you done already been there and double lapped. You done already did all types of stuff, and you long gone. It's just impossible to keep up with you. That's essentially what I'm saying. It just becomes impossible to keep up with you. So this is essentially the secrets of Kundalini. So we can complain about life, about the world, about people. We can complain all time, all day, forever, and be miserable. Or we can simply just outwork the haters and anybody who may be an adverse energy towards you. You just outperform them and outwork them, and eventually you will outgrow them, and you will eventually become better than them because you were willing to work when they were willing to sleep. So hopefully that makes sense. 93, 93, 93.